guys on this topic.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Healthy Living Podcast brought to you by Willow Creek Springs. I am your host, Joe Grumbine, and I have two special guests today. I have Erin Wilkins and Troy Bergen from Idaho. And we've interviewed both of these guys previously separately, but as it turns out, they work together, and it turned out to be a good opportunity to have a twofer. So, Erin, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Doing well. The sun is shining in Idaho and it is not snowing today, so we're doing good.
Fantastic. And how about you, Troy?
I'm doing good. It's 51 degrees in Idaho today, which is first time for the season so far. So she's right. It's sunny.
So you're back home. Last time we did this, you were sitting in my house.
Yep, down there in California. I think it was cold and raining then.
It's been a cold, rainy first start of the year, but we're flying into spring now. We're sunny days. We're going to be up in the 80s by the weekend, I think. So everything's getting back to normal. Only we had rain this year. Well, anyways, let's get started here. We were sort of yapping a little bit before we started the recording, and I was telling you guys about the news that I heard yesterday about Robert Kennedy throwing his hat into the presidential ring. And I thought it was interesting because he has a very controversial, strong opinions about vaccines. And long before we had COVID and all of the Fauci-isms, this guy was out there advocating hard against vaccines. And I don't know anything about his position prior to what I just heard. But Erin, it sounded like you had a little bit of input.
Yeah, I follow his work with the Children's Health Defense. And so he has a lot of information on the VAERS reporting data and just a lot of the lawsuits that are going out against the vaccine injured. And he does a lot to just really put truth out there. His book that he wrote on Fauci is fabulous. If you haven't read it, I would recommend getting a copy of that. But yeah, he's a wonderful man that really cares about people and cares about truth.
You know, it's interesting. People, especially when the pandemic was raging, they were declaring science as a fixed point in time. And the reality is science is anything but that. Science is the biggest moving target that there has always been. And we keep discovering things that make everything we thought we knew wrong. And it happens over and over and over again. This new telescope we have out in space right now is changing everything about what we thought about the universe because it's finding stuff that it should never have found. And it tells me a lot about our understanding of the world and of the human body and physiology. And I saw this meme the other day, and in fact, I just copied it and put it on something I did. And it said something to the effect of, if science was right all the time, we would still be drinking cocaine, taking cough syrup with heroin in it, spraying DDT on all of our vegetables, and smoking the cigarettes that our doctors recommended. Because that is what science was. I mean, I remember as a kid flying on an airplane where people smoked on the airplane. There was a smoking section and everything. And I remember
theaters.
Yeah, I remember. Well, what was crazy was, as a young kid, my dad was a surgeon, and we would go on a trip, go fishing or whatever, and do something, and then he'd get called away on an emergency surgery. So the next thing you know, I'm sitting in a doctor's lounge, right? And so I'm in the behind the scenes room where the doctors are coming and going prior to going into the operating theater. And these doctors all smoked. My dad smoked. He smoked a pipe. I mean, I'm a little kid, probably 8 years old, sitting there watching golf in a doctor's lounge going, this place sucks. And everybody walking in and out. This is my memory of smoke. And that was science. It was all fine. It was good for you. It wasn't no big deal. So the point is science changes constantly. And during the pandemic for 3 years straight, we were getting driven down our throat, the science of RNA or mRNA vaccines and the safety and the this and the that. And now I don't know a single person that got vaccinated that's really glad they did. And I know a lot of people that didn't get vaccinated that are really glad they didn't. And I know a lot of people that did get vaccinated that wish they hadn't. And it doesn't mean that it's right or wrong for anybody or everybody. I'm just saying that what they drove home and actually mandated in a lot of situations and created policy that caused your freedom to be severed if you didn't follow what they said over science that wasn't proven. And apparently this guy, Kennedy, has really kind of exposed this guy Fauci, who was, the tip of the spear for science. And there was an old song in the 80s that was she blinded me with science, and this goofy guy doing this science thing. And I thought I always saw Fauci as that guy, that goofy scientist that really wasn't much of anything. I think what's happening though, and again, part of what this show is about, is we get a lot of people that are sick of all this, all this science being crammed down our throat as though it is the same as fact. And, fact and science aren't necessarily synonymous. And there may be some science that's fact, and there may be plenty that's not, but it's the state of our understanding of any particular thing is what science is. And, that changes literally by the minute and by the second, or there wouldn't be researchers, right? I mean, if we do it, we wouldn't have anything more to learn. And we have more money spent on researching in universities and pharma companies than anything else. So, Erin, we were talking a little bit, and Troy, and we're going to sort of introduce a little bit about, your business. We get people a lot of the times that are really just fed up with going to doctors. The pandemic changed medicine, and now doctors care even less, in my opinion. I mean, they were disconnected before, but now, I mean, it's 3 seconds on the telemedicine, and you're like, but wait, I got something to tell you. And they're like, here's your thing. And you're like, even the veterinarians are horrible. We got a veterinarian that we used to have a good one, and he retired. And since then we're just like, what the hell? The prices went double, and you guys can't be bothered. People are seeking solutions on their own a little bit more, I think, in the past. And now we have a lot of experience backed by some science, because now there's studies of natural treatments that there never used to be. When I got started doing this, it was used bookstores and reading old herbal books and talking to old people that knew stuff and trying and failing and trying and succeeding. And that was my school. But nowadays we've got university studies of compounds in different herbs and different settings, and there's data being collected, and we're being able to validate a lot of natural treatments and techniques. Well, what are you hearing on your side of things?
I mean, my personal business is just skyrocketing this because people are sick of being sick, and they're sick of not being listened to. And that's just widespread. Unfortunately, our healthcare system needs a whole reworking. People go in, and the doctors, the nurses know better than you. And I always tell people that you're the one that's the expert on your body, and every single person's different. And somewhere along the line, we started treating everybody like they were just a textbook, and, oh, you've got this symptom, well, let's give you this. And so I recently had a gentleman that contacted me. I had helped his daughter with the eczema. We'd actually talked about her a couple of podcasts ago, where they had recommended putting her in bleach water to kill the eczema on her skin. And it was only because she was eating dairy. And once we cut out the dairy, her eczema cleared up. And so It's just awful. So he's like, I can't breathe. I'm short of breath. Should I go to a doctor? And I said, you can, but they're going to give you a steroid. And he goes, well, I don't want that. And I go, well, then let's talk. Let's figure out what it is. And that's literally, he would go in and say, short of breath. They would look it up. Well, if you're short of breath, we give you this drug, which is only going to make his symptoms worse. So he came to me and his rib was out. And
Oh,
he
wow.
had just introduced a new energy drink that he was slamming every morning that was chock full of sucralose. So
that's
I
always
said,
good.
you are causing inflammation in your body and your ribs out. So we got that out of him. I did some muscle testing for allergies. He took a couple things out of his diet. I adjusted his rib and he's fine.
Nice. Well, the technique that you were talking about in spending time with your clients, testing for sensitivities. I think in the old days, when the doctor used to ride into town and he would come and visit you, because that's what they used to do, they'd have dinner with the family and he'd notice things and he'd talk to not just you, but he'd talk to the whole family. And he'd get a general sense of things. And maybe there wasn't as much science involved, but I have to think that some old-fashioned doctors a lot of times probably did a better job of solving problems by really getting to spend time with it and building their experience up and realizing probably these doctors probably recognize the value of it's not just this happens, so you do this, this happened to this kind of person and they fall into a category that's likely to respond to this. Hey, that's a whole different process now, isn't it? And you go into medical school and they don't tell you that. They say, well, here's a bunch of stuff. Here's the parts. Here's the problems. And if these problems go wrong, here's what we do about it. And the curriculum is written by the drug companies, so it seems kind of natural what the solutions would generally be. And like you said, I grew up with lung issues. Shortness of breath has been my middle name most of my life. And I learned, as a kid, I was a distance runner for a little while before I busted up my leg. And I learned that if I could control my breathing, I could run and I could run miles. But if I got out of whack and lost my rhythm, I'd be wheezing and I'd have to stop and I'd have to walk home because it would totally wreck it. But I learned about, purposeful breathing and dealing with things on that level. And yet, I went through all the shots and the steroids and the treatments and all of the stuff, and it's all horrible. And so we're dealing with more and more people, like you said, getting sick of being sick and getting sick of the same old answers or the same old treatments. And when they come to you, you test them for sensitivities and you try to find, a natural solution. What are some of the other things that you use? I know you were talking about mixing oils and, working with, and I did a little research on the company that you work with, and they do a lot of different kinds of products, and they do essential oils, and they have some cold pressed oils and different types of natural food grade plant-based compounds. And is that the only thing that you do?
It depends. So when somebody comes in, I want to know, I go through a whole gamut of questions just to pinpoint exactly what it is, because it could be physical, it could be mental, it could be spiritual, it could be so many different things. And so some people I will make a medication for based on, hey, I had a vaccine injured gal that came to me who, whenever she had her menstrual cycle, she would have just this psychosis. And so I made her a hormone-based oil that she could take under her tongue to help control. And so somebody else, maybe I would walk through behavioral modification, or maybe it's just because they're allergic to, oranges and the citruses are setting them off and causing weird things to happen. So it's more of I have to listen to everybody and I have to see what really is going on and get to the very bottom of it, or else someone just comes and says, I've got shortness of breath. Oh, well, here, let me just give you a medicine to help. And he didn't need a medicine at all. He needed to be off of something. And it was a physical thing, like his rib was out. So.
Yeah, I think the general course of action today, when you go to a doctor, is you walk out with a prescription every single time. I don't think there's ever been a time where at least one wasn't offered, and generally I can remember working with an allergist and a pulmonologist, and they were, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. I was walking around with bilateral pneumonia for 2 years, and they couldn't solve it with their drugs. And then finally, they started asking questions. I finally found one doctor in San Diego that started asking questions, and ultimately we figured out some issues. And I think that's a big part of the problem. And you don't need to be a doctor to get a sense of things that go wrong. And working with people, you have a medical background, you have some medical training, and you have a nursing license, but you're doing, in my opinion, the same amount of good that a general practitioner would do most of the time. And you're spending your time with the people. I think that kind of experience brings as much value as 4 extra years of grad school. And that's just my opinion, and I am not a doctor, and I can't give medical advice, and this show is for entertainment purposes only. So don't take it any other way unless you decide you want to, and then free world, so you do what you want. That all being said, Troy, you're here today, and she's here today, and you're definitely not a doctor, and you definitely don't have any medical training other than your own personal experiences. And now, but over the last couple of years, you've picked up quite a bit of experience working with people. And what brings you two together when it comes to this this conversation?
Well, I was set up at a local mall here in Twin Falls, Idaho, just at a place called Healthy Vibes, and just something I wanted to try because I do events. Well, Erin was there doing that too, doing as a vendor. She saw what I was doing, and I guess she had lost her CBD connection where she was getting stuff or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Quit shipping it into Idaho.
So she saw what I was doing and walked over and started looking at all the stuff that you make, and couldn't believe the variety available. And there was an immediate, connection with Erin and I, and it didn't take long. She wanted a few things to try for herself, and it was just really obvious very quickly that she should get involved in this too. And so that was just at the end of the season. So out here, Idaho, they roll the sidewalks up in the winter, and when you depend on events, it's pretty much over, for the winter. So this season is going to be exciting. It's going to be, we're going to be working together. We're going to be scheduling events together. I can only be one place at a time. So yeah.
Right now, we haven't got you to that point yet. They're make
We're working on it. We're working on
it's
omnipotence.
Yeah, it's happening though. I mean, we're already booking stuff. So she's going to do.
So what you're saying is that not every place in the world is like Southern California?
What's that?
What you're saying is not every place in the world is like Southern California. Like we do stuff all year round, and what is. No, you guys
Idaho special.
Yeah,
Idaho special. Yeah, we take the season off.
So. Can't go many places if there's 6 feet of snow outdoors.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, half of California got that this year, but that's there was a once in a eon situation. So that's exciting though that you guys are teaming up and bringing natural products out there. And doing events and things, and that's part of what this community is about too, is sharing people's business ventures, and giving an opportunity for people that come into this community to get to know, you think about this, like you talk about natural products, and you go to an event, a craft event or whatever, and you see all these different vendors, and if it's a food product, well, you can try it and see if you like it.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of different natural product makers out there, and I know a number of them, and frankly, some of them are really good and some of them are okay and some are not that great. And so over the years of doing this, I've had a lot of people come to me that have worked with products that weren't that great, and then they try something that's really good. They're like, hey, there's something special here, what's up? And but I think it's important for people to get to know that it's not just, you guys aren't just a couple of hustlers out there trying to rolling up with your snake oil carriage, gonna go sell the potion to everybody. You guys are actually coming to this from a place of professionalism. And, Troy, you were talking about your own personal health issues and all the years and years of experience in our last interview. And, Erin, we've been talking about your practice and all of these things. I'm curious, with this guy that you were talking about, how did you figure out that his rib was out?
I could tell by the way someone moves if there's
Okay.
something going on. But then he said that he had hoisted his wife up onto his shoulder to try to pick her up, and she's not a small woman. And
Okay.
he was just trying to be a tough husband, and
Hopefully
hoist
she
her
Right.
up.
doesn't see this.
And right.
Yeah.
And then he just said that he felt like this compression in there, and he had gone to a chiropractor 3 times and they were only making it worse.
Oh, no. Okay.
And
All
so so I ended up feeling and seeing if it was out, and I could feel that it was out, and then we rubbed a bunch of some CBD oil straight on him just to kind of get the pain to go away, and then
right.
put his rib back in.
Nice. And again, that's part of what these conversations are about, because you drive around and you see a sign and it says chiropractor, or you see a sign that says acupuncture or naturopath or whatever, and you think to yourself, well, okay, maybe this guy's good. But I know people that have gone to chiropractors and think the world of them, and I know other people that have gone to chiropractors and say they messed me up, and I came out worse than I went in, and I don't know what to do now. And the same thing could be said for any kind of physician and any kind of practitioner. I've worked with a few acupuncturists, and to me, that's a little, if they're going to stick things in you, you better be good, right? And both times, though, the people that I went to, they were people that I knew somebody that had personal experience with them, and I got that personal referral. And I kind of think that that's what this is all about too, getting people to know the people that are part of this community. And you get to make your decision, but I'm hoping that the people that are in Idaho, there are more and more people in Idaho that are connecting up with this healthy living community, and I'm hoping that it's going to bring them the thing that they need, which is trustworthy, capable, competent practitioners and good quality products to bring this quality of life that we're looking for, without steroids, without antibiotics, without all of the things that Western medicine just loves and opiates. So I guess those are the 3 big ones: steroids, antibiotics, and opiates. So if you took that away from the doctors, they wouldn't be able to talk.
They wouldn't be able to talk.
They'd just go, well, I don't know. I have to go back to the books. So, well, we're just about out of have a free-flowing conversation with this, and I think that these types of conversations are important because it gets to know our clients and the people that are part of this community a little bit better. Where is this first event that you guys are going to be at?
Well, I've got one coming up on the 14th and 15th of this month It's at the Mountain View Barn in Jerome, Idaho.
Mhm.
So a lot of people know about it. It's usually a lot of foot traffic goes through there. A lot of my regular customers come to see me there, but I'll be there. It's my sign will be there. It's Old Sage CBD, and I'll be there for those 2 days. So, and then there's
Fantastic.
another one in Glens Ferry at the end of this month, on the 28th and 29th, at the fairgrounds in Glens Ferry. And yeah, that's same thing. It's a big vendor show, and I'll be there. A lot of people know I'm there, but yeah, I'll be posting everything that I do and making it, advertising as much as I can so people know where I'm at. So those are
Fantastic.
the first two this month, and then after April's over and May kicks in, then a lot of regular things start happening. By June, it's full tilt. I mean, we'll be a lot of places, and we'll promote it and advertise it and get it out there so everybody knows where we're at.
Well, I will hopefully be able to publish this episode before the 15th, and that way people can hear it and know about that. So I'm actually practicing taking some little video clips and using it to promote an episode, but it's I got a lot of balls up in the air when it comes to all this stuff, and I'm doing the best I can with it. But and Erin, you work as a practitioner. You have your practice at your place in Twin Falls, right?
Yep.
And so it's a whole different experience doing an event where you have people walking by and wanting free samples and wanting to chat you up and all of that. It seems like a completely opposite dynamic. How do you see working at these events?
Well, I've done promotions and promotional modeling for 16 years, so I'm used to it. I'm used to getting out there. I'm an acting instructor and an actor, and so I'm used to getting out there, love people, love being able just to talk to anybody that comes along your way. And I think the worst thing I've ever sold was bed sheets, because I got some of the most sexual comments in the world. So I don't think doing CBD is going to be near as hard as bed sheets.
No, I couldn't imagine. Although you'd be surprised, people can find a way to turn anything a certain way.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that brings us. What's that?
There's a lot of oil involved.
Oh, yes, indeed. Well, yeah, anyways, yeah, there's a lot of places for that to get involved. I'm going to give you guys the final parting shot here to let everybody know how to reach you and all that good stuff. And we're going to bring this episode to an end. So why don't you give us all your contacts?
Go ahead.
Okay, so check out my website. My phone number should be listed below, and anybody literally is welcome to text me, email me anytime. Anything I can help with, I'm here.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and mine's the same way. My business name is Old Sage CBD, and you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. Plus I've got my personal email address and my phone number. A lot of people just text me or call me, so it's 208-316-6003, and I'm easy to get a hold of. And my I don't have a website, but my email address is.
You
is
will
my
one
name.
day, I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to find.
Fantastic. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all next time on the Healthy Living Podcast by Willow Creek Springs.
Thanks, Joe.
Bye.